Hello, everyone. This is Cremechiss. Welcome to our channel. I am Suri and I'm here with Sank. We have two very important announcements just for you. Number one, thank you so much for all the love and all the support you've given us for our previous video, which is a movie review on the masterpiece of S.S. Rajamouli's RRR. We feel your love and we're so happy that you've given us a chance, that you've given this little channel a chance. If you're new to the channel, please check out the description for the link to the review and let us know what you think about it. The second thing we're here to talk about today is Jibaro. Uncultured people like Sank and I have been mispronouncing it as Jibaro for the past couple of weeks, and we recently learned the correct pronunciation of it, which is Jibaro. You will hear us mispronouncing it as Jibaro through the video, and please forgive us. We are really trying, and I hope that you have watched Hibaro, because if not, all I have to say is it is seductive, it is sexy, and a downright king in artful storytelling. I mean, when you watch it, I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed. This is a bit unlike our previous pattern. I think this is the first series we're going to talk about, or an episode of a series we're going to talk about from Love, Death, and Robots. And oh, I got that right. Remember how I used to keep saying love, sex, and robots over and over again?
Yes,
makes me wonder about my association about sex and death. But
I'm a I'm a great Kailash Kher impressionist. So uh, if I
okay.
sing, we'll get copyright. So I'm not singing. So
Yeah, I understand. Anybody who hasn't had a listen of Kailash Kher's song "Love, Sex, or Bhoka," please listen to it, so you can get hyped up for this episode that we're about to embark upon. Jibaro is the last episode of the current season of Love, Death, and Robots. Love, Death, and Robots has been around a while. I think this is season 3, right?
yep.
Of Love, Death, and Robots. Um, we we as people are very fascinated by Love, Death, and Robots because there is so much different kind of animation stories, animation styles that we have seen in the course of the series. And some of the most interesting facts about the current season is that I think David Finch is playing executive producer on a lot of them, or all of them. He directed one of the episodes as well. And this particular episode of Jibaro is extremely unlike what we have ever seen in the series. And it's a very simple story. It's predator versus predator, and we will try our best to go scene by scene into it. But forgive our enthusiasm about it, because this is a show I think I've watched like at least 7 or 8 times. I'm sure Sank has rewatched it as well, just trying to understand different elements of the storyline and the characters. And let's actually go into it. There are two characters that play central to the story. One is the siren, and the other is this warrior type person. And Sank, tell me first impressions about our siren.
Uh, I want to talk about. So you mentioned. I want to talk about the choreography here because when we are
Okay.
talking about the female character here, uh, I thought the motion capture was done so it was so important here because whatever dance or whatever maneuvering that she was doing, it almost did not feel human, right? Yeah, like it was a dance. We could understand that it's a dance, but it wasn't clear as to what she was doing. It certainly didn't feel like anything else before, right? So my first impression was that it sort of, I don't know why, but it sort of was clear for me that the thing that she's doing, she's not doing it intentionally. She she is this innocent character who
Yes.
is unintentionally killing people,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
also like the gold on her body, it's all I found that like after after a few more viewings, I found out that maybe she's acquiring that gold on her body and not certainly
Mhm.
using that as her to her advantage or anything like that,
Sure.
right? So that made
Yes.
me feel like I think this girl is certainly not doing this uh, for herself or anything. It's just that she's wired to be like that. And yeah, that was my first impression.
Yeah. I see what you mean because when I look at her, uh I think about scorpions and uh how they tend to attack or sting if they feel that they are under attack. So she's a predator for survival, not for sport. And that's the beauty of this character where you see her and she's beautiful and she dances like a dream come true. And you're right, that choreography was completely out of the world. Like I have not seen those kind of dance moves on like in real life where humans are doing that, although the sirens movements are based on a real human woman, and the steps are actually based off of, and they, I think they kind of imprinted the entire character on an actual woman to give it more lifelike stance. But you're right, siren's first impressions, at least for me, is one, she is extremely beautiful, and by all means she has every right to be a siren. I have never heard of sirens in lakes. I've only heard of sirens in oceans and seas. So I guess you're right. Like she's not a predator just for the sake of being a predator. She's a predator to protect herself, to protect her land. Because the opening shot of the story is a bunch of warriors. I think one one religious pastor type person is also there, and they have their horses and they are walking through the forest. And I think they're walking through the forest to capture that land. I guess I'm not entirely sure, but they are clearly trespassing in her home. And I think the lake that they're walking by or walking around is her home, and her reaction towards them is her way of protecting that house, protecting that home. And amongst those warriors is our second protagonist, our our deaf soldier, who um, he he's introduced to us as a person who sees a little gold piece in the water, and he picks it up, and we see that under the water the siren is kind of like watching his hand movements, and he picks it up and he kind of bites it to confirm that it is gold. So your theory about her having her acquiring gold, um, what do you think about this theory? Is she in fact the source of the gold, considering she's a siren? And like how fishes have scales, she has scales as well, but they're made of gold and ornaments and beautiful things, because um it, like she kind of like has grown in the lake and grown around the lake, and I think that because there is no one else over there, it has like accumulated over her over and over again, because no one is there to rob her or steal her. What do you think about that?
So this is my interpretation of the whole story. Okay. Uh, Talking about the gold a bit later, but this I just want to talk about an interpretation which might come back to this. Okay. So by the way, I just want to tell people we're gonna talk about every single thing about the shot. So if you haven't seen it, just go watch it and then come back watch
Yeah,
this video.
and don't complain about spoilers because we do
Yeah.
not
And it's a 15-minute shot, so
care.
please
Yeah, just go and watch it. God.
don't whine. All right. Uh, so my interpretation of the whole story was that she represented Mother Nature. It was sort of like anthropomorphizing that aspect of nature, right? Where if you screw with the nature, you face the wrath. And that's what happens later on also. But even to these soldiers, you see that they are trespassing into her territory or into the wild. And this was actually touched upon. I don't know how much people know about the story of Agire, which has a very similar story as to I don't know the source of it, but I would just say that it is also about this German, yeah, sort of. Sorry, Spanish. It is sort of about this Spanish army who are lost in the woods, and because they are, it also plays on the greed aspect of it, where they are trying to steal some sort of a treasure out of the jungle or something, and then they eventually face the wrath of nature that way. So I thought, like, coming back to your point about whether she was acquiring the gold or whether she already had them, I thought it was I thought it was a bit of a both, where she had something and she saw that these people are taking something away from her. Okay, it might not be gold, it might be something else as well, but they are trespassing into her so-called personal space, and that's what makes the trance happen. I would say a bit of both.
I see. I see. Okay. Let's go into shot by shot about the storyline itself. So, like the opening. The opening, we don't see Siren right away. We see them walking through the forest,
Hey,
and we
hey,
see
by the way, why are you like calling it Siren? Is is that our official character name?
she
Is
is
that what they've
Siren.
called?
She is a Siren. She is not. She doesn't have a name. She doesn't have a
Okay.
right, because also the episode has no dialogues, so we're just
Yeah, yeah.
we're going to call them what their assigned characters are. I'm calling her Siren because she has no other name. At least that doesn't come through in the episode.
Okay, okay.
And I'm going to call the other protagonist Soldier because, again, there's no name, there's no dialogues between them. There's very, very fantastic soundtrack. It'll give you chills if you watch it. If you just close your eyes and you just listen to the soundtrack, that will also give you chills. Like, it is such uh well made soundtrack for that particular environment. Like, you feel the forest around you, you feel every hoof kind of clopping away of the horses, and the horses have like these little bells and something on them that makes a sound every time they walk and run. And I think this is intentional, I guess, to like make the people aware that they are coming. I think this is their way of terrorizing a new land. So very interesting set of characters. And you can see the environment itself from the top view. I think when you're entering the universe, you can see the lake from the top, and it's beautiful blue lake. It's not really big, but you can kind of see from the top that, okay, this is about, and that blue lake has a throwback towards the end of the storyline as well. So I don't know. I think they've set up the universe in a way for us to like call them whatever. You can call them whatever you like. If you want to call it queen and bastard, you can do it too.
Talking about the sound, at one point the in the trance sequence, I actually thought that it might hypnotize me as well. The way she communicates.
Oh,
It was
okay.
that eerie for me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let's go into the first attack. I think that's, I guess, the first interesting interaction scene. So all of these soldiers just walking around, technically minding their business, and out comes Siren, slithering out of the lake. And a bunch of men see her, and they're immediately taken by her, immediately attracted to her. And she's just dancing at this point. She's not saying anything other than just dancing in the lake. And now she has their attention. And some of them kind of, did you notice that, or was that my interpretation? Some of them kind of walk towards her, yeah, like I'm gonna take this. Like it gave a massive, I don't know if there's a metaphor for it in the storyline, but a massive colonization metaphor where, like, if they see something, they're just gonna take it. They're not gonna care that that's an actual human or a living thing in their home,
Yeah, classic predatory behavior.
right? Like they're on a hunt, and she clearly is not an animal. Clearly, she's not an animal, but she kind of comes out of the water in all her glory, with her beautiful jewels sparkling, and her face and her eyes are like so cute and innocent. And she just kind of comes out of that lake, and immediately you can see that. I actually would like to talk about her costume. So she has a beautiful headband, right? She has a mask that covers, I think, everything up to her nose, and her lips are painted red, but they have like some sparkly jewels stuck onto them, like sequins. And the rest of her is completely adorned in jewels and gold and very metallic. And the second she opens her mouth, I think, to start screaming, you can see that she has razor sharp teeth, which look like diamond like. And that scared the bejesus out of me. I'll be honest with you, because I did not see that coming. I'm like, wait. Why? Why does she have fangs instead of teeth?
That whole sequence was like him telling us that this is what animation can do and live action can't, right? Like, so my first encounter with Jibaro was the thumbnail that they put on the Love, Death and Robots season 3 trailer, where she's popping out of the lake and you can see her eyes and the reflection of her eyes in the water. And it sort of made me think that I actually thought that it was live action. That whole sequence, it makes you feel like why mocap was important here, because you usually have mocap to emulate human movements, right? But whatever that they'd shown with her is anything but human. And that was such an interesting decision.
Yeah.
Uh, that was really fascinating for me to see something like that happen. And I would say that they have taken animation to a bit of an upper level here. And okay, we'll talk about Albert Muir later. But yeah, continue.
I think the part where she comes out of the lake, and she's now officially scared, I think, for her well-being, or scared for what's going to happen to her home. You'll see, like, before that, right before that scene, there's a bunch of soldiers who are kind of laying their swords down to, I think, what looks like a father of a church or something, because they have like these religious, and they kind of like stab the ground with their swords as they're like giving homage to these people. uh and you'll see, like, the soldiers have like you can tell who's in charge. So there's the leader who's worn, like, I think, golden armor, and then everybody else has like silver armor, the ones who are, like, I think, following the leader of this army or this party. And the second she comes out of the water, and she opens her and they see her, and she opens her mouth and starts singing, you see that they're losing their minds immediately. And this is not just the soldiers, even the I think the people who are representing this, like, this religious group, or the father or the pastor or whatever, they too are like getting completely like taken by her, and they're looking at her like with like greed almost. And I think it's the way they show the soldiers kind of entering the
Yeah.
lake where they're dancing, literally, like they're dancing to their deaths. And some of them are like rushing on their horses, and the horses can't swim, but they're rushing on their horses towards the lake, and they're trying to get to her one way or the other. And you can see that our second protagonist, the soldier, is kind of like, looking around, and he's like freaking out completely. And he's like, why is everybody going? And he tries to stop his friend, who I think in the beginning of the story does sign language with him to explain to him what's going on. And but he can't save his friend. His friend pushes him and runs towards the lake. And then you see the aerial view of the lake again. And in this second, I realized that the lake is kind of shaped like a heart, like a
Oh,
like a very, yeah, asymmetrical, but like still a heart. And the second she's done screaming and like getting all of these little soldiers and horses like lured to her, and you can see that the horses are not interested. So this only works on humans. The horses who could survive that, they are literally like, walking away, which means anything that doesn't have greed for flesh or for gold, doesn't look at something in a possessive way, they are safe. But anything that understands that, oh, she can give me something and I want that, they are not safe. And you'll see in the aerial shot that the lake, after she's done like luring all of them in, is getting bloody, and it's like a burst of red in the middle of a blue lake. And that also fades out very quickly, meaning there is no way that anybody who crosses that path could ever know that people died in that lake, because it
mhm.
literally cleans itself up immediately. And it's like a self-healing forest, I guess, in some way.
Right, right. You talked about the lake being heart shaped, right? Uh,
Yeah,
to know that he actually did the recce himself, that
yeah,
all of these locations are based on real locations.
yeah,
Uh, it's just fascinating to know. Maybe even the lake is a real one.
yeah. I think the director or the creator of Jibaro, he spent 3 nights in a forest to get the feel of a forest. And his name is what? Albert Mielgo?
Alberto Mielgo.
Alberto Mielgo. And he also made one of the other projects, right? The one with the
Yeah, the
thing that
witness
goes in
in season one.
circles. Hmm.
The
So he
witness in
made
season one.
yeah, okay, okay. So Witness in season 1 of Love, Death and Robots was also made by the same person. And you'll see that there's a lot of similarity in artwork. It's very colorful, very beautifully colorful, very attractive characters, uh, very celebratory colors, but it's a very violent story. And similarly over here, very beautiful, very scenic, but oh my god, it gets so violent so quickly. Like you don't expect that universe to be set in blood and gore. You don't. And I think that's what he tries to do over here as well, where he creates an entire universe to make it seem like, oh, this is very, comforting, and look at how colorful and how pretty she is. And no, she is immediately killing people who are crossing her path.
Another thing, like, I think that's similar between the witness and this is the chop editing,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
flick,
Yeah,
and then you see something else, right?
yeah.
And yeah, very similar to the animation was very similar to the witness. I don't know who's the animator here. Okay, let's move on to the other
Oh, another
sequence. Yeah,
another similarity between the witness and Jabaro is that both the protagonists, the female protagonists, have bangs. And
eh,
that's the I don't know why that is somehow more prominent than everything else to me. Like that they like I think the girl in Witness, she has like these very cute bangs and she has these pigtails, and then the siren over here has bangs and she has again short hair. And I don't know why that is somehow more significant to me than their costumes, and I wonder if that was intentional, like some kind of like callback. But oh well. Anyway, continuing. Let's go to the next scene.
yeah. Next scene is the actual confrontation between the two. But again, it doesn't happen very directly. It's more like she confronts him first, uh, before he actually sees her.
Yeah.
Wait, did he actually see her in the trance sequence? Yes, right?
Yeah,
He
he
actually
did. He
notices her.
sees her.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then she vocalizes even more to get him into the lake, but he can't hear her. So she
Yeah.
kind of like feels defeated and she like holds her throat and she's like, the hell? Like why am why is this not working?
Don't don't curse me. But ये कौन है जिसने मुड़ के पू को नहीं देखा?
No! Do it like poo. Do it like poo. Do it like poo.
कौन है वो जिसने मुड़ के पू को नहीं देखा?
I love it. How dare he? Oh God, this is if anybody hasn't watched, God, I hope there is someone here who hasn't watched Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum and watched one of the most vapid characters to ever grace Indian cinema. And she basically is siren like when somebody doesn't give her 2 seconds of the day, she's immediately latched onto that person. And siren is kind of interestingly depicts some toxic behaviors in people, that anybody who gives them attention, they don't care for them, but the one person who doesn't give them attention, they get obsessed over that person. And they're like, why isn't he like looking at me? And this isn't gender specific, obviously, but my God, that part was like it opened some very weird chapters for me in my head. It's like, wait, is this like a universal issue? Like, why isn't why isn't he looking at me? And she kind of almost drops into the lake. Like she doesn't disappear, and she like literally like faints into the lake. Like, what happened? I'm gone.
Oh, for her, he was like fat, pretty hot and tempting.
Oh
Okay,
my
enough of
God.
K3G jokes now.
How do you remember all this? Is my first question. Okay, it's fine.
I am a bigger Bollywood fan.
I am a very big Bollywood fan. Okay. I
Yes.
watch I watch everything of Govinda. Okay. And I watch everything that has beautiful song and dance. And I don't think you watch things that are typically like song and dancing in Bollywood. Okay. So let's not try to be
I'm not
about
talking about
who's.
seeing, I'm talking about imbibing that in your real life. That is something that
So your need to make bad jokes makes you a better fan. That's literally what you're saying. That is literally
I'm
what
saying
you're
my
saying.
personality. I saw these movies while growing up, and then I decided to emulate my personality based on this. That is a bigger thing than just watching Bollywood movies. Okay, we have to move on. We are very much digressing.
Okay. Let's go
Okay,
back to scene number two.
okay.
Where
Then there are a couple of sequences that are my favorite. One is the one where she gets up close with him when he's sleeping.
but she waits, right? He goes into the forest, and at this point, like he runs away from the lake, thinking that that's as far as she can go. And she
Yes.
waits till nightfall, like a creepy person.
I think she wants to. She's seen him alive, and now she wants to, see what's he like up close and personal, and she knows that she's not gonna get any chance while he's awake, right? And
Yes.
then that amazing sequence happens where I don't know what she's doing, but I think she's sort of analyzing him, sort
Yeah.
of doing a version of full body checkup.
Okay.
Something
Okay.
she's measuring him, she's doing something. It's like you immediately know that she's smitten by him head over heels.
Yeah.
everything, right?
Yeah.
And what happens, like, so he wakes up, uh and then the scene happens where he's
So so she sees him, and this one part which really like freaked me out a bit. He covers himself with a little shawl, right? A maroon shawl, and she pulls that off of him.
okay, wait,
And
wait, wait. So he wakes up while she's dancing.
no, no, no. He's fast asleep. He's gone. Like he's exhausted. He's wearing all his armor. He's wearing this maroon blanket, and then he goes to sleep. And then she kind of emerges from the part of the lake where he's lying down, and she immediately like sees him, and she like goes towards him, like hiding behind trees, making sure he can't see her. But she doesn't realize he's asleep. And then when she sees him over there, like kind of unconscious, I guess almost, she pulls the blanket off of him to see his body. That
Ah,
freaked me out a little bit. I'm like, dude, hey, boundaries. Okay. He's literally trying to take a nap. But remember how she licks her shoulder
yeah.
before lying down next to him? And yeah, so she licks the shoulder and then she kind of touches his armor. And I think she sees similarity, like, oh, I'm covered in gold scales. He's covered in armor. And she lies next to him and she puts her leg on top of him.
Uh-huh.
That's the scene.
So whoever's seen this, please go and watch the making of Jibaro. They have shown uh, the people who have done the mocap. They've shown the actual choreography and how they've captured these things. So again, something very you talked about licking and stuff, right? So
Yeah.
something very that's very non-human there,
Yeah.
and that part was very fascinating to know that uh, these things were mocap.
Yeah.
And then that amazing sequence where I felt the widest range of emotions in that scene. Where shall we talk about that scene, or is there anything you want to talk about?
About when he wakes up next to her,
Yeah,
finally. Yeah. Yeah.
the
Let's
make
go into
like
that. When he wakes up and he holds her hand, and she
Mhm.
gets scared and she runs away from him, and
Oh
her
yeah.
scales come off on his hand and he literally like cuts himself by just
Ah,
by touching her. And but she runs into the lake and now she's being playful and she's like, come get me, like look at how sexy I am, like and he starts following her because first of all he's shocked that she's like lying next to him without trying to hurt him or anything, so she's clearly taken by him. And then but he doesn't care, he holds her arm and he's like, like, come towards me, I want to see you better. And she runs and she like literally like injures him in that process, and then he follows her towards the mouth of the waterfall, of a waterfall, and he takes out his sword in front of her and he like stabs it into the ground. And I think this is his way of showing, I will not hurt you, to her.
yeah.
This is his way of luring her because she still runs away from him the second he wakes up.
And that is the last second when you feel like this is a love story
Yeah.
because it goes south
Yeah.
very quickly.
Very quickly. The part where he sees, like, she sees him finally like standing at the mouth of the waterfall, and there's this thing she does which like made me like blush a little bit. She licks this other weapon, which is, oh, the quiver of the sword on his back, and she licks the length of it while going up. And the thing is, I don't think she knows that he can't feel that. I don't
Oh,
think she knows. I think she thinks that his entire body is like the weaponry and the shields and everything is him. Like how her
wow.
scales are her. And she, because she, even when he's lying down, she licks his shoulder, licks his arm. And I think it's because she doesn't know that that's not his skin. But yeah, and then the next scene is them, you know,
They're
is
making
her,
out,
yeah,
and
hard,
yeah,
like
she
literally.
is she's kissing him all over, and then she turns around and he touches her belly, and
Yeah.
that's when again he bruises himself. uh, I was so mesmerized by these sequences where I don't know how they did it, but I could actually feel the wound. I could actually feel him, bruising himself, hurting himself in that process. I don't know
Yeah.
how they were able to do that. I think it's the editing, but
Yeah.
really kudos to the animators there, man.
Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
you find out what is his intentions. So, uh, I thought it was. I thought it's a great example of a toxic relationship because
Yeah.
she also knows that while when they'll be making out and when they'll be having sex, he's gonna end up probably dead or like severely wounded. And but she's still going ahead with it,
Mm. Hmm.
right?
Interesting. Uh,
F- And his intentions are obviously clear. We find out why he's doing that.
yeah.
He
Yeah.
eventually beats her up, and
True. When she is against his body with her back towards him, and he pulls out one of her jewels and she starts bleeding from her navel, she feels like, I think she feels that pinch. She feels that pain. And she say, oh, okay, let's do this. This is your kink. Okay, this is also my kink. And she
Mhm.
starts kissing him and biting his tongue with her razor teeth.
uh,
And he starts bleeding from his mouth. And I think she thinks like that this is how you make love. Like it should hurt if you love.
yeah, for
Because
her,
he,
it's that's the only kind of intimacy that she knows.
right, like in pain and blood. And he literally headbutts her and he knocks her out. And he starts gutting her like a fish. Like you can see that he's like rubbing all the scales off of her, like peeling it all of it out. And every time he peels it out, um, he throws it on that maroon blanket or that cover or whatever.
Oh,
And you can see that it's covered in blood. And every time he removes something from her body, she bleeds out. Like she's like those scales are literally sewn into her. I think the gold scales, they're off her body now. So every time he pulls it out, she bleeds. And you can see that her corpse or her body is kind of just like bleeding off of that hill and falling into the waterfall. And once he's done taking everything he can, he kind of just dumps her like he's done. And
yeah.
and I think that scene where her body is bobbing in the water, that like I started crying when I saw that scene. I don't know why. Like it,
Horrifying.
it's horrifying. That scene is like it's everything, right? You can make that a metaphor for anything. Like Sang said in the beginning, it's man versus nature, and literally like exploiting and abusing and hurting nature that way. It's colonization where people just came in and took what they wanted. And it somehow it's also like a metaphor for, I think, I don't know, rape in some way. Because when they when she's kissing him and he starts bleeding from his mouth, he stops her and he turns her, right? And then she stops and she's like, okay, that you don't like that. Like she looks at him, she's like, oh, turns out you don't like this. I thought you wanted this, right? And she stops, but he doesn't. Like
Hmm.
she, as a creature of the lake, understands consent somehow, because she actually stops when he tells her to stop kissing him with her teeth. But he doesn't stop. He takes what he wants. And that, oh god, uh,
Oh,
it was horrifying. Like that scene, like it made me think of Maleficent in with Angelina Jolie, when that boy takes her wings. Like she's sleeping next to him with no like reason to fear him. And then she wakes up and her wings are gone. And he basically cuts off her wings and he goes with her. Like, I don't know, like it gives me like those flashbacks about that story where I'm like, oh my God, this is literally about taking something from someone without their consent, when they're not conscious, when they are not in complete understanding of what is happening, because he knocks her out and he takes her scales. He doesn't do it while she's awake. So um, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, they
uh,
do it. He is also like the soldiers that she killed sometime back,
mhm,
who think of her as their possession,
yeah.
right? So yeah, it is not a metaphor, it is rape.
Oh God. Okay. I was afraid to, like, I don't know, think about it, but yeah, I think he just leaves, right, with the big bag of
Yeah,
gold now. Now he's running through the forest.
yeah. And then he
And
takes a moment to catch his breath, and
yeah,
that's where nature hits back.
yes, yes. And her blood, I think, completely stains the all the water in and around the lake. And it becomes like literally blood instead of water. The entire lake is now filled with her blood, and where he only realizes it when he's catching a break, and he's basically drinking water from the lake again, but far away from where he dumped the body. And then he sees that the lake has only blood in it, and he stops drinking it, and he gets really scared and very traumatized, which opens the next amazing scene of him getting his hearing back. uh, he, he goes into complete shock. Like, he literally hits his head against the ground.
Yeah.
Did you
Oh,
understand that? I didn't understand that in the beginning, like why he was doing that. I just thought he went mad.
I think yeah. I don't know what's the medical explanation of that, but this would be my interpretation of it. It's like your hearing coming back suddenly, right? It's what happens to your eyes when you're suddenly exposed to the sun
Yeah,
after darkness, right?
yeah,
I thought it was just like that. I don't know if it actually happens or not, but I thought it was a very, very nice way of showing again nature hitting back.
yeah, yeah. You're right. I think he goes into like shock, and then he finally realizes that it's nothing to be scared of. It's just his hearing coming back, and our darling siren comes back to life, and she sees that all her scales are gone, and all her gold is gone, and her body was literally ripped to shreds, and her mask and her beautiful painting on her face, it's not there. It's gone. And she's just like, you know how, I don't know if you've seen this, but when women cry, their mascara runs, and she comes out of the lake that way with her mascara running down her face and reduced to like something so small and so insignificant. And she starts weeping and grieving, and she sees him over there, and she starts screaming. And at this point, she doesn't think he's going to come. I don't think she does, because she's not screaming to lure him in. She's screaming because she's sad. And but now he can hear her, and he gets lured
Mhm.
towards the lake. And the man,
Yeah, I didn't think that the last time that she does that, it was
yeah,
to get back at him. It
yeah,
was just her disappointment.
yeah, just literally just a disappointment. And she's actually inspecting her body, like she's looking at where he hurt her, and she realizes he hurt her everywhere. And oh God, Predator versus Predator. I think the director also called this blindness to red flags. Um, when you because the opening shot is her under the lake, him finding a gold piece of thing at the edge of the lake, and then looking at it and biting it and immediately hiding it in his pocket. And she sees that, but she chooses to ignore it because he is different from everybody, because he didn't get lured towards her like everybody else. And oh God, I think the scene where you finally understand that it's not a magic lake that just, you know, makes everything scenic and beautiful. The second he gets lured because he can now hear her, he drowns in the lake. And when he drowns, you see all the corpses of all the soldiers before, and he's now part of them. And with his armor and everything, he just sinks to the water. I don't think I've had such a satisfying moment in my viewing experiences, at least. Like, it was so satisfying, but at the same time making me wonder if that's why she is like this in the first place. Because ultimately, anyone who can get near her is going to take advantage of her. But yeah, this is the entire series, guys. It's worth watching. You have to give it give it a good chance. I know there are people um who, oh god, this is something I've recently found out. There are people who don't like animation. Have you heard of this? This is brand new information to me. I thought animation was the one thing that like united all of us. And
Uh, maybe though
they don't,
they maybe they're the ones who think animation is only cartoon.
yeah, could be. Um, you'll never see anything like this. It is very live action. It is very beautiful, very human like. So so engulfing. Like the story is like it literally is hypnotizing and worth giving it a try. And you know what else is worth giving a try? Our other podcast videos that have come out in the past month, guys. Why aren't you watching
Are we not talking about the other episodes?
about the other episodes of Love, Death and Robots?
Just the season 3, I would say. Not
Sure,
not
we can
not
talk
all of
about it.
them, but just some of them that we have liked.
Yeah, sure. Tell me about. So Jibaro is obviously my favorite, but let's say we had to pick any other episode, what would yours be?
There are a bunch actually. I would say like second place would be Bad Traveling, the one with David Fincher. I thought that was the only short. So all of these episodes are not more than 15 to 20 minutes. But this was the only short that I felt like it should have been a full feature length film, because so it's about this bunch of people who are caught in a ship which is about to be wrecked, but that's not the worst thing that's happening to them. It's about this monster in their ship in the basement,
Yeah.
right? So I wanted this short to be a bigger movie
This
because
one's
it
called
would
Bad
be,
Traveling, right?
yeah.
Bad Traveling.
I wanted this movie to be long because it would be so amazing to see these characters, who these characters are, who these characters, what are their backstories and everything. Because
Mhm.
when things happen to them, when good or bad things happen to them, I'm not saying what, but whatever that happens to them, it would feel so rewarding when it actually happens. And yeah, what a way to build the suspense every minute. I was kept guessing the whole time. So I would say Bad Traveling was one. Couple of others would be, third place would be, I forgot the name of the short. The Swarm. It's called Swarm.
I like Swamp Thing.
Great one again.
Hmm.
Never thought it would uh, end in that way.
Yeah.
That was great. And again, Mason's Rats. Mason's Rats. That's what it's called. It's
Yeah.
it's so the character Mason is voiced by one of my favorite, maybe my favorite late night talk show of all time, Craig Ferguson, and is
Mhm.
it's a very cute short about the relationship between this man called Mason and the rats who have infested his farm. So
Yeah.
these would be my favorite ones. What were yours?
Mine was well, I think kind of similar. So I love Bad Traveling, and then Swarm, and third for me was what's it called? The very pulse of the machine.
Any Pulse of the Machine was which one?
It was the one with the exploring mission in a Jovian moon, or towards the
Ah,
Jovian moon.
okay.
And yeah,
Yeah, I
and
did
this one
not.
astronaut, yeah, it's you didn't care for it?
I did not understand. So if I don't know, there's this thing like I'm in this phase that if I'm not understanding it, I
Mhm.
don't like. I don't I don't care.
I can actually appreciate that. I don't think I understand the story either. I just think that it is about a person who is trying to survive, and then they have the option between surviving and then or just walking and going through the motions of that journey and experiencing everything that nature has to offer in the course of it, and or take drugs and be completely numbed out of it. And and I think the character at one point says, if I'm going to be dead, I don't want to feel pain while dying. And she just dumps a bunch of like antibiotics or some kind of drugs to, I think, and I think the entire journey is created in her mind because she starts hallucinating because of the effect of the drugs. Um and the story also ends weird, but I don't know, I really liked the artwork. It's very graphic novelty, very colorful, very beautiful. Uh, Bad Traveling I like the most, mainly because I thought the protagonist was so interesting. Like, what a delicious protagonist,
Hmm.
right? Like, he's just like, okay, I'm gonna kill everybody, and I'm gonna win, and I'm gonna do whatever I like, and I'm gonna protect an island of people who don't deserve for this creature to be released on them. And so eerie, my god. Like, the one thing I think Bad Traveling and the Swarm had in common was where the creature could possess a human and talk through them, like through their corpse,
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that.
right? Wasn't that like eerie? Like, because in Swarm
Yeah,
that happens towards the end, and in Bad Traveling that is kind of the way. So they call it Thanapod, right? Like this massive kraken kind of creature of the sea, and any human that comes towards it, it'll eat it. Like, it's hungry all the time. And however, one human it does not completely consume. Like, I think he leaves his mouth and his vocal cords intact, so he can talk through it, and he talks through that corpse throughout the episode, and it is so creepy. uh, Actually, now that I think of it, anybody who likes horror would really like volume 3. Volume 3 is horror, isn't it? It has Night of the Dead, it has in Vaulted Halls, Entombed. All of those things are like about like horror genre things, aren't they? Like,
yeah.
um, I think the one of them that didn't impact me in any way was Kill Team Kill, the secret
Is it the
Revengeance
one
sense of humor.
with the foul mouthed soldiers?
Yeah, like
And
and
oh
they
yeah,
have a
yeah, yeah.
sense of humor, and I don't know, I
Uh-huh.
didn't care for
So I
that.
think like every season of Love, Death and Robots has this kind of an episode which is just where where this army goes in to kill this large monster,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that, and they're the most badass characters ever. I don't know why they do that every season, but I can't distinguish between any of those.
Yeah, me either.
But
I
yeah,
mean, I don't care for those kind of storylines, to be honest.
yeah. So maybe for me, season three was better than season two. I thought like I don't really recall anything from season two actually. But when I talk about season three, I thought like there are a bunch of so many episodes that are some of the best episodes of the series. These are some, like Bad Traveling, Swarm, the these are some of the best of the series.
Yeah,
But Jibaro triumphs all of them, and maybe that's the reason why we're talking about it right now.
yeah, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
very, it's something that is so unique that it transcends the whole show for me. I think it. I don't know how the Oscars work here, but this should be nominated for animated short this year.
Absolutely. So well made, so beautifully made. So um I think one of the best immersive character experiences I've had, where in
Yeah,
such a short time I know everything about the characters. I can place their histories. I can tell you about their first heartbreak. I can tell you about why they are the way they are within 15 minutes. That's very difficult to do.
Yeah, yeah. Love, Death and Robots is slowly becoming the one stop. What's it called? One stop shop.
One
Yeah,
stop shop. Mhm.
one stop shop for animated shorts. I thought it's a great platform for animators to display their talents,
Yeah.
however varied it might be. Like, that's such a great thing to do, right? It can be anything. You can be an animator of anything. You can create any type of any genre, anything, and but it would still feature in the same show as
Yes.
something else, right? And that's a great thing to happen. So Love, Death and
Mm,
Robots, one of the best shows to have ever come out of Netflix. I'm
yeah.
glad that they did that. Like, they're one of the very few uh, novelty things that Netflix has done. Not something that other streamers can, you know,
Yeah.
say that.
I I remember watching okay, what do you think about the three robots storyline which has continued through the seasons? So the season always opens with three robots who are on a now destroyed Earth.
Hmm. I thought it was
Um,
just a jokey episode. I loved the first one in the
Me
first
too.
season.
Hmm.
Here it was just like an extension of it. These are a few more uh, witty, cocky, funny
Hmm.
lines that we've given to the robots.
Hmm.
Something that we could not encapsulate in the first season. So here's
Yeah.
another episode of that. It didn't
Yeah.
it didn't mean much, but yeah, it was funny.
I I find it interesting that um that they have maintained that through the volumes, like giving us a kind of movie experience because they, I don't know. I think they're doing really, really good. Even the ones that are bad are good. Like remember that, guys. Like when we trash talk something, it's because we don't like it because it's not our preference. But even in spite of that, it's good. Like
Yeah,
even when it's bad, it's good. Like and that's so odd talking about shots and animation shots and but absolutely, absolutely worth watching. All three seasons. If you don't have the patience for all three seasons, just get to season three, watch Jibaro. None of the episodes are actually linked to each other. So if you watch them for the first time, you won't feel like, oh my God, am I missing some? You're not. You're not missing any context. Just watch it. You love it. Um, and you know what else you can watch and love? Our
what?
other episodes.
Oh my god, really?
I know. You don't know about. Okay, son, I'm gonna tell you. Okay, we
Please.
have been releasing some episodes for the past couple of weeks. It's actually going to be a week and a half very soon, where we have been releasing like these amazing podcasts about amazing conversations in the movie universe, fantastic protagonists that, really have set the new standard, the new bar for the way storytelling should occur from a hero's perspective. We are about to release today our, I think, RRR review as well. The movie that has taken the world by a storm. Go if you are coming across this channel for the first time, go check out the RRR review. You will not be disappointed. We had a great time reviewing it. We broke down the scenes. Uh, watch the movie obviously before watching before watching our review. But if not, then just listen to us fangirl and fanboy about it as much as we possibly could. But other than that,
Our
do let us
reviews,
know. Sorry,
as
go ahead.
opposed to Jibaro video, our reviews actually, our RRR reviews actually shorter than the movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know, right? We had so much to talk about a 15-minute short. But yeah, RRR is a fantastic. I think I was very proud of that review. Worth watching that one. And we even reviewed Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think that was our first video. And if that's something you're into, please go check out the rest of our channel. It's Cremechiss. And we don't want to get into the semantics of how we are intending on designing this channel and the content of this channel. But if you like what you heard today, give us a comment, give us a like, give us a share. Subscribe to us, tell us what you want from this podcast, because we are not reviewing this as movie critics. We are reviewing this as an audience, as people who absolutely adore cinema, and anyone who thinks that we have so many other movies to review and so many other beautiful things that we've probably not watched, recommend stuff to us so we can review it and create more content for you.
Yep.
Signing off.
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao, Bella.